Chris, one thing that really stood out is the aggressiveness, intensity. Clearly your swarming mindset is taking hold now that you're a few games into the season.
Yeah, I think, we're starting to run to the ball better. Still area to improve right there. Still want to see it every single play detailed, and really got to work on our angles to the ball right now. Some of the missed tackles and some of the angles we've taken. That was an emphasis in the unit meeting, and that's what we'll be working on all week.
And just as a follow-up, there's one play that keeps showing over and over again on television that was the sack, but like 6 guys took a shot at it and were right there to get it. Your thoughts when you were watching that on film?
Yeah, that's, our biggest thing is we don't want to break down, we don't want to stop, we want to take a shot. And, at this level, there's so many good players we go against that you're going to miss tackles at times, but we always want to dictate the tempo, and we want to go take a shot, and, as long as we swarm to the ball and we get the hats there, we feel like we'll make the tackle.
3 weeks, into getting to watch this secondary kind of gel and, work together, how would you evaluate their play through 3 games?
I think our communication's getting better. I think our guys' confidence working together has been improving. There's still, we still got to make some improvements. Communication in general, still want it to be better than where it was this past week. I still think there's opportunities out there for us to close some more things off or make a couple more plays. And, that's, same thing. The unit meeting was, we had opportunities to make other plays or limit some of the explosives that they had. And those are areas that we got to continue to improve on right now as a group, as a defense in general.
One of those guys I've asked you about a couple times, but Bryce Fitzgerald's second interception this many weeks, just to see how he's continuing to get more playing time, get more and live up to what you're giving him.
Yeah, it's one thing that we preach is what happens in practice is what happens on the field. And he's been a guy all the way through fall camp. The ball just always finds him. And, it's the guys that, it's been consistent. The guys that show up with the football on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they seem to be the guys that are getting the fumble recoveries or the interceptions on Saturdays or Sundays right now. And, we're going to continue to preach the football. We're going to continue to want our guys to attack it, whether it's in the run game, second man in, third man in, trying to strip the ball out in the run game or in the pass game. We want to continue to attack the football when the ball's in the air.
I know you were talking Saturday about the ESV credo and how that's so important around here. How would you sort of assess other?
Yeah, that's what it's from day one. We want our guys to love football. We want our guys to be excited about it. And, it doesn't matter whether it's a walkthrough, it's a, Tuesday practice trying to get a feel for the offense, or it's a Thursday practice. We're a little bit further along, you're coming in to watch film. We want our guys to be excited to get out, work together, compete. Every single rep. And then, the swarm and the, how physical we play are the things that we want to preach. And, one of the messages always for our guys is we're going to have mistakes. We know that. And hopefully Saturday there's less mistakes than there is Tuesday. But the faster we play and the more physical we play, we feel like that erases a lot of them. And, as we continue to play together, and gel, and as the guys continue to get more comfortable working together every single week, we got to limit some of those mistakes, and we got to communicate a little bit better, and I think that's where you're starting to see some of the growth right now.
I know we had 5 picks on Saturday, but what do you see when you look at Lagway film? Just, this is obviously a pretty accomplished kid who can make a lot of throws.
I thought the defense made some really good plays. I thought the defense he played against did a really good job, and I think he's a really talented player. There's some plays out there that he makes that you don't see a lot of times. His ability to extend the play, extend the pocket, create things with his legs, and then some of even the throws he makes on the run. He's throwing the ball perfect into coverage, really tight windows, and I think they do a really good job using him.
When an offense like that, those struggles a bit for a couple of weeks, how much, as a defensive coordinator, when you look at things, do you anticipate something changing as you watch film, or some of the things that they've done that they're trying to do differently against you?
Yeah, I think, every week, they change their pitchers, or they change different things they do pre-snap, and, I think they have some looks there. I think they've made some really good plays. I think they've had some untimely penalties right now. I watched, the game that sticks out to me is the South Florida game. The first 3 possessions, they go right down the field, have an opportunity to put the ball in the end zone every single time. And, whether it's penalties or they just don't quite make the play, or kind of holds them back on that. But I think it has the ability to be an explosive offense. And there's some evidence of that. Last week they had the huge, 80-plus yard touchdown called back. But they definitely have some big playability with those backs, with those receivers, and with the quarterback in the backfield. And we just got to make sure we have to try to limit that.
How much do you preach to the team, I guess, or to the defense about capitalizing on mistakes? It's like Lagway threw. He had 5 picks on Saturday, but LSU, I think, only had 13 points on offense. That it was a closer game probably than it could have been. How much do you emphasize like capitalizing when you get a chance like that?
Yeah, and that's when we go through and we watch ourselves and we study what we did this past week. That's the common theme that comes up. We do a really good job in coverage. We lose containing the quarterback. Then one guy comes out of coverage, and now all of a sudden it's an explosive by the offense. Or second down in the red zone, the quarterback forces the ball in a window, and we're in the window and we get a PBU. If we pick that thing off, the next play they score a touchdown. We need to capitalize on all those opportunities all the time. And it's the game of football. When you miss that opportunity, a lot of times the next play, the other team capitalizes on it. And we get our hands on the football, or we have an opportunity to collapse the pocket and create a sack or a big play on defense. We need to continue to make those plays. We can't let the quarterback escape, or, we get our hands on the football. We got to take that ball out of the air. We can't just knock it around.
And then just how would you evaluate, I guess, their offensive line strengths? It seems like y'all's D-line versus their O-line might be, maybe the battle of the game, kind of a strength-on-strength kind of situation.
Yeah, I think they got a lot of returning veterans. It's, looking at South Florida last week, now looking at University of Florida, they have a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. I think it starts with the center. I think he's a very good football player. You can tell the way he communicates, the way he moves, his understanding of, even seeing how he picks up some of the different blitzes, or, the job he does in the run game, passing things off. You can tell he's a very good football player. And, I think they have 4 guys returning that work really well together. They'll be the biggest unit that I think we've played this year. You look at the size of them up front. They're long, they're big, and I think they work well together. They're a well-coached group that, they've had a couple untimely penalties right now, I think is the biggest thing right there. But, I think it's a group that works really well together, and they, you can tell they've played a lot of football together. So,
how do you feel like your corners have performed when they've been challenged downfield?
I think we've done a really good job. I think we still got some of the techniques, like you watched the one this week, I think on the, what was that, the second drive of the game? We got beat. I thought we peaked a little bit too early. We came out of phase. But I think our guys, the first series, that first 3rd and 7, I think it was, they took the one-on-one shot. They saw middle closed. And then, that second series, they came out right away on an earned first down, took a shot on us and capitalized on that one. But I think our guys have been getting better every single week. I think our details have gotten better. I think our understanding of leverage and spacing has continued to improve. And, it's something that, this week it's going to be something we're going to continue to push and practice and try to make sure we're better this weekend.
Corey, against Notre Dame, you guys obviously had to make a big play at the end, and it looked like the fresher team out there at the end. Game on the line late in the 3rd, you guys got the 4th and 3 stop. Again, you look like the fresher team. Just when you're practicing on green tree in August, you got no choice but to work obviously very hard. But what sort of an edge has that been that it seems like you guys have been certainly up to the task from a conditioning standpoint? Yeah,
I think our staff and our strength and conditioning program and those guys have done a really good job of getting our guys prepared and getting them ready to play. Everyone from nutrition to sports science, everyone in that department has done a really good job of preparing our players. One of the messages this morning was, we got to play a full football game still. I felt Notre Dame, we played really well for a while, and there was a little bit of a letdown. I thought with Bethune, it's kind of the same thing. And then this past week, we had a stretch. We gave up 2 big plays early, 2 explosives. One of them's a really good play by a good throw and a good catch by a good wide receiver and a quarterback. The other one's, us making a mistake and them capitalizing and taking advantage of it. And then we had a run there where I want to say there was like 5 3-and-outs. And then after that, we kind of had a couple series where we weren't as disciplined. We made a couple errors. They made a couple good plays. They have some really talented players there too. And that's where the message is we got to be consistent with our details and our fundamentals for an entire game. And, last week I thought we had 2 really good days in practice. One of the days I thought we were a little bit loose. I thought we had to, lock in a little bit more. And I think that's, this week we got to have 3 really good days in practice. We got to be locked in. We got to run to the football. We got to play with really good technique and fundamentals. So that way we can put a full game together.
What have you seen from their running back, Jaden Bob, Florida's running back on film?
I think I thought we opened the season with a really good running back, and I think we're going to see one of the best running backs in the country again. I mean, his ability to extend plays, run through tackles. I think he's got really good vision. They do a really good job getting the ball in space to him at times, a little bit in the screen game or pass game. But he's a dynamic back that runs downhill, runs behind his pads. He's a physical back, and I think he's got breakaway speed. But I think he's, one of the best backs in the country.
Do rivalry games fire you up even a little bit more? I mean, I know the main thing is the main thing, obviously, but do you feel a little extra something when you know it's a big game for the two schools?
The thing we're trying to focus on is us. It's, the number one thing for us is we got to make sure our details, our fundamentals, our communication, the way we swarm, how physical we play, that's the things we control. And we got to make sure those are the things that we're focused on. Today when we get with the players, tomorrow when we get with the players on the practice field on Green Tree, and that's the only thing that our focus has got to be on is us getting better. Getting better at our fundamentals, our techniques, and us playing together as a team better every single day.
Anything else? Great, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Thanks, man.